strength inside the lows. We turn the tables, lemons to lemonade. Host of our own show, the light won't fade. With every challenge, we rise above the fold. See the silver lining, standing tall through it all. We turn the tables, lemons to lemonade. Host of our own show, the light won't fade. With every challenge, we rise above the fold. See the silver lining, standing tall through it all. We turn the tables, lemons to lemonade. Host of our own show, the light won't fade. We turn the tables, lemons to lemonade. Host of our own show, the light won't fade.
Good evening, everyone. It is Thursday, June 13th. Thank you for joining me for my second episode of Turning the Tables, and this is the Father's Day edition. I brought on some special guests, and we're going to be talking about fatherhood. So, real quick, we are going to be highlighting fathers. We are going to be celebrating fathers, and one of the reasons why I wanted to focus on fathers is because Father's Day is this weekend, and also because I feel that we as mothers get valued, appreciated, and get these lavish gifts. And I just wanted to acknowledge the fathers and bring to light, glean some of their wisdom and appreciate them and thank them and learn a little bit more about what's on their minds. So my first guest today is going to be Frank Robinson. So Frank Robinson is a family friend. He's a dear friend of our family. He's been a fatherly figure in my life. He went to school with my aunt, who deceased in high school, but he's been a friend to our family, one of godly wisdom and encourager. And what I wanted to do was bring on a father who has already raised his children. So he has grown adult children, and he is going to represent that on today's show. Welcome, Frank.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the invitation.
Thanks for being here. So my next guest is Bryan Alexander. Hey, Bryan. Thanks for being here, Bryan. So Bryan, I've known for quite some time, and Bryan is married to my childhood friend, Jennifer Alexander, who also later became my cousin. And we also share a godson. So Bryan's family. So thank you for being here, Bryan. Bryan is an amazing father at this point. My cousin, she passed away from a battle with cancer. And so Bryan is representing a single father on my show. And so thank you for coming on and representing the single father, Bryan.
Anything for you, Inez.
Thank you. You're so awesome. And next we have Kerry Neal. Hello, Kerry. So I think I met Kerry around 2018, 2019. I met Kerry through Keeping It 100 LA, which I absolutely love. which is a resource and a great group that I'm happy to be a part of. And he does things for the community and for families and just for individuals. But Kerry's also, he's become a friend through Keeping It 100 LA. And so thank you, Kerry, for coming on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure and honor. Thanks for having me on, Inez.
You're welcome. Anything you'd like to share as an intro about yourself?
Yeah, well, but one of the things I think is really important is I'm really passionate about seeing Black love thrive in our community. So one of the things that we do with Keep It 100 and what I do on my platform, Urban Birds and Bees, which is a podcast, we try to dispel all these misconceptions that men and women within the Black community have about one another that prevents them from experiencing true relationship harmony. So we try to provide tools, insight, understanding to address a lot of these common misleading themes that only drive us apart and things like that. I think that we can find amazing love among ourselves in our community if, in fact, that we address some of our past trauma, hurts, and dysfunction and things like that. So that's what I would say. And thank you so much for the platform to talk about how we're going to acknowledge dads, because you can always get dinner reservations on Father's Day. You can't get it on Mother's Day. So
Right. You bring up such a good point. Thank you, Kerry. Also, I wanted to mention that Kerry represents a co parenting father. So I wanted to bring on a father with adult children, a single father, and I wanted to bring a father who is a co parenting one. So we have a good mix of fathers here. So let's dig into it. We're going to have a meaningful conversation. So, just a couple of housekeeping things. If you're watching live and you have a question for anybody on the panel or everybody on the panel, just type in Q and put your question in the chat and we will try to get to it and answer it live. All right. So here's the first question. What was your biggest parenting challenge, or what is your biggest parenting challenge for those still actively? I guess you parent forever, but what is or was your biggest parenting challenge?
mhm.
For me, my biggest parenting challenge was just being a parent in general. When I was younger, I kind of raised myself, so I kind of had to make up my own mind on what kind of dad I was going to be and what kind of parent in general. So for me, it was being a stay-at-home dad for my first child, not knowing how to change a diaper or heat up a bottle or any of those things, but slowly learning them was a big challenge, especially on how to soothe a newborn baby or how to rock them to sleep, or, you know, I, I think that was a real big challenge for me. But I, after the first few weeks, you start to bond with your child, and it's great. So, but that was my biggest challenge, I would say.
Thanks, Brian.
Go directly to me. I think mine, I think I had a couple. And one was I didn't want to pass on the culture, the dysfunction of the household I came from to my children. I really didn't want to do that. And I think the other part was balance, trying to find balance. I was a pastor, and my career was in ministry. And a lot of times there were times where it was economically very difficult, particularly when my wife was at home and she was with the kids. We just had the one income, and there were times where I had to count the slices of bread to make sure that I could feed my kids while I was trying to figure out groceries for other people's families. And so I think finding balance was a challenge. I tried to once a week take my wife on a date, somehow do something with them to make up for the fact that they had lent me to everybody else.
Wow, thank you. That's really good. Finding that balance, right? When you're doing that, you're being pulled everywhere. And Carrie, did you have anything on that one?
Yeah, I think what was tough for me, and even to some degree, even now, is am I making the right decision? Particularly, well, it may be perceived to be the right decision at the moment, but what are the long-term ramifications of that decision? So now most of my kids are grown, right? Although I have a 13-year-old one at home. And so yeah, that's him right there on the right, little Nick. He didn't look a little more. He's like 5'11" now at 13 years old. All of them are pretty tall. But I think one thing that I thought was just very interesting is, am I making the right decision? Um, and how can I make sure that I'm not putting my experience on them that I went through as a kid and trying to take that template from when I was a kid and trying to, it's like, so I would do it this was how I'm gonna do it, how to do it now, but really give them their own experience. Yeah, it's very interesting. And then trying to, because being a co-parent, trying to balance what I'm going to do and what's going to happen um, in terms of what their mom wants to do. And that was always an interesting bag of tricks right there. So go figure. Yeah.
That's really good. Thank you. I think even as a co-parenting parent, or even when you are married, like trying to make sure that you and the mom are on the same page, um, is something that is important and valuable, and something to always pay attention to because it affects everybody and as kids.
Yeah.
All right. Question number two. So, what has been your most rewarding parenting moment?
Mhm.
I think I'm now in the grandparent business. My children are grown, and I get such joy out of this. And so I have a treasury of so many memories. It's hard to come up with just one. And I was thinking of John in Third John. He said that I have no greater joy than that my children walk in truth. And when I see my grown children doing humanity in a decent way, um, it just gives me tremendous joy. I mean, the graduations, but I see them parenting, I see them doing life and taking their places. And it gives me such joy to see them do good things and great things and the way they think and all of this that I had a little bit of a part of. And I thought of them as an arrow that I took to a bow and then one day had to let them go. And so now to see them in flight and to see them take their places, I can't confine it to one event. I just get such joy out of watching them and seeing them, kind of treasure of them.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, one of the things I think I was a great joy for me is when I hear other people talk favorably about my kids. Oh, your kids are so well mannered, this and that, and things like that, and so forth. Because we always look. I grew up telling my kids, I said, "You better not embarrass the family name." So as long as they're on point, that's a beautiful thing. The other thing too is, and this is more particular to my two sons, is how they went to college. They got full ride scholarships to play football. And one went to University of Washington, one went to UNLV. And so they're kind of doing things, quote unquote, by the book, so to speak. And now at age 27 and 25, yeah, 27, 25, they're married now. So they got out those dating streets. So hopefully they'll stay out of that crazy dysfunction. They'll just focus on leading a godly generation and doing the right thing. So that's a beautiful thing.
For me, it's how my kids treat other people, especially in public and their friends and stuff. One moment I can think back to is when my oldest was probably about 5 years old. I was having a pretty rough day, and I tried to get her to use a restroom at the store we were going to, but they wouldn't let her use it. So I got a little upset and went to the store next door. And while we were coming out of the restroom, a lady had dropped something and it was all over the floor. But I was so in my own head and I was upset and I was huffing out of the store. And I looked behind me after I got a few aisles past my child, and I looked back and she was helping this lady pick up this stuff off the ground. And I looked at her and she just looked at me and she says, "We help people, right, Daddy?" And that really stuck with me, especially early on, being a new dad and that made me feel like what I was doing was right. So it's really how my kids just treat other people in public. My son, whenever he hears a crying baby, he wants to go give it a hug. And it's just moments like that where it's like I'm raising caring individuals, and that's what I really want to put out to the world with what the other gentleman said. I agree with theirs too, but I just really like how they treat other people.
That's beautiful. I love what you guys said, and it just shows the value and the importance of your presence, what you're sowing into your children, how you're shaping them, the example that you're setting, and even the generational curses or the dysfunctions that you experienced in childhood. You just wanted to make sure to do better, and it makes our homes better, it makes our households better, it makes our communities better, and the world a better place altogether. You're contributing to society in a positive manner. All right, next question is, what advice would you give other fathers?
Oh boy, what advice we get other fathers?
I've got one. For me, I learned that all kids are different. You got to kind of change your parenting style based on the child you have. Like my first child, I found to be very easy. I know that sounds like I'm bragging, but she was very easy. Second one was a little bit of a challenge, but then my son, he was on the spectrum, so you had to learn to do things his way. He was nonverbal for the first 4 years, so you really kind of had to learn to communicate his way. He's not hearing you when you like you speak to your other children. So, really, if I would have learned early on in his development that I had to change my style, I think it really would have helped.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think one thing I would say in terms of advice that I would give to fathers, well, let me just say it this way. Um, you probably shouldn't have kids with people that you don't intend to marry. So, and if in fact, if that is what the case is, always try to compromise with the other parent. And remember that kids are watching you all the time. They're watching you even when you think they're not watching. I learned that the hard way as they were growing up, and they start telling me all the different things that they saw. And I'm thinking that they only see me or they knows me like when I see them. That is not the case. They watch everything, everything. So that's what I would say.
I appreciate these gentlemen and what they've added. I don't want to presume, but as I was preparing, I thought of many things, and so I'll give you some. I think that advice I would give to other fathers is to make parenting among your highest priorities.
Mm,
If you didn't get it at home from your father, or for some other reason you need it, find great models of good fathers. What a good father, what a good husband, what a good man looks like, so that you can get from that things. How can you be something you don't know how to be? Do something you don't know how to do. And so these things will help you. And I think we have seen recurringly, we have to find a balance and not replicate dysfunctions that came before us, trauma that came before us. And there's something about that if you looked at it, life like a pendulum, some extremes in a family can be so far over on this end, you're trying to get away from it, and you're so far over, you don't balance. You're over on the other side, and your error on this side is just as damaging as the error on that side. And so somehow a perspective is important to avoid that extreme. Understanding this brother, this gentleman right here, Bryan, mentioned it. Understand how that child is wired. And if you can understand how that child is wired, it will help you to know how to proceed successfully as a parent. And I'd remind men, I'd remind fathers that if you can be a good dad, not only will the lives of these children be better, not only will their lives, or the trajectory of their lives, the likelihood of their lives being more successful are increased by you being a good dad, but their children, the likelihood of their lives, their children's lives being better because you're a good dad. I think it's important to let your children thrive in your presence. If you're a safe man, now every man can't do this, but if you're a safe man and you got a little girl, for example, I did this. I put my little girls on my lap. I let them put their arms around my neck and say, "Daddy, daddy, daddy." And I ate that up like candy. But what I was doing and tell them how pretty they are, tell them how important they are, how smart they are, how much I love them. I was speaking these words into them while they were 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so they wouldn't be 14, 17, 27, and 42 sitting on some other dude's lap looking for the man that was missing from their lives. Be intentional about making your children feel safe and loved and secure and of worth. Both your sons and your daughters will need to see you, and need to see us listen to their mothers with respect and to partner together with them as best we can with mutual respect. And I'll add this: if I had to do all over, I would make a greater focus on being more gentle, less harsh, especially with correction. Um, I know there are people much worse than me, but that's not my point. If I had to do over again, I would be more gentle. David said in Psalm 18, he said, "It is your gentleness." He's talking to the Lord. "Your gentleness has made me great." And I'm saying about the gentleman mentioned that one child was wired different than the other. We had one that was so easy, just so easy. He just set us up. The second one, he breathed a little oxygen and then he screamed for about 3 years. Screamed high pitched, screamed. You know, third one came along. She was a little bit more quiet. But the way that one was wired, if I had to raise my voice with one because he was just all over the place and I had to get his attention. But if I raised my voice with her, it's like her lip would poke out and she'd drop her head. She'd feel like she had just let me down. And somehow I had to find a way that correction could be restorative. There's another passage in the psalm where he said, "You, O Lord, are a shield for me, my glory and the lifter up of my head." So when she dropped her head, I'd have to put my hand under her chin sometime and lift it up so we could look at each other. Say, "Yeah, I know you messed up, but it's all right. I'm still daddy. It's okay. Everything's okay." And those are things that I would suggest for men.
Yeah.
Those
You
are
know what I was.
so good. Carrie?
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say something too, really quick, just real quick. So I love what he talked about. He would be like more gentle with his kids. That's that old concept we hear called tough love. I heard somebody once say, "It's great that you're going to, uh, and when you give tough love, just make sure that when you give the love, and you just don't give just the tough, right? You got to give the love as well, right? So that's really important. But the other thing I would also say, we as men, we're wired. We get our self esteem from our sense of achievement, right? So we'll put a whole bunch of time in working and providing, and as quiet as it kept, we kind of think job is done. So that emotional connection and things of that nature, we may kind of downplay. As a matter of fact, we would make it would almost seem like that we're not really doing our job if it's far more skewed to what we provide. Like, I put clothes on your back and things like that. What do you mean you're not happy? What do you mean you don't know if I love you or not? And so we downplay things like maybe giving them a hug or encouraging them and things of that nature because we're bringing home the bacon, so to speak. And what might be our wiring in terms of performance. There's an emotional engagement that's really, 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 really important in raising kids. I remember my sons, they told me, they said, "Dad, we never saw you cry before." I said, "What do you mean never saw me cry before?" And I remember because I always perceived crying as being weak, and I didn't always want to be perceived as strong to my kids. And I kind of was jacking them up. And so now, as I'm older now, I've learned to be more emotionally available, just basic things in life and things of that nature. But I didn't really come to the knowledge of that until my sons told me that, which I thought was pretty deep. So
Thank you guys for all of your contributions. That was really good, especially the parts that you guys brought up. Well, of course, about being gentle, right? As men, we need that from our fathers. I was raised by my grandfather, and he was such a big nurturer and had such an impact in my life. And my other grandfather, they were both. I felt protected. I felt safe. I felt loved. I got affection growing up. I would not be the person that I am today without them. And they've both passed on. And then my dad's alive, and he calls me every day. But we need you guys, and that's the point that I want to get to with this is like we need you. Your presence makes a difference. Your absence makes a difference. But you're very much needed. Well, let me move on to the last question. The last question is, so how can mothers or families, how can we support you in your role as a father? And I started to share a story about when I was married. I used to complain because every time I left the little ones with their dad, it seemed like they were always eating fried chicken and fries. And I would really get mad about it instead of thinking like, well, at least he's feeding them. But it was the little small things that end up becoming big things, and they don't need to be, because I felt like he needed to do it my way. They should be eating, um, a balanced meal every time or whatnot. But that was something light and easy. But I just want to know, as mothers, the mothers of your children, your families, extended family, how can we support you to be better fathers or to father the way that you need to?
We have feelings too. I mean, we would like some respect as well. And I recognize that the child came out of your womb and so forth, but we may have some insight what might be good for the kids, even the daughters. I have a beautiful daughter. Her name is Danielle. She's even a little bit taller than me, big, tall, incredible young lady, super talented and things of that nature. And while, there are times that her mom may have a great idea about what she needs to do here and there, I may have some thoughts too, just kind of watching her and just being around her, just the instincts that I may have. But yeah, we men, our radar, we may not be as emotionally wired like women are, but we got some insight too. So, dignify that. So that's what I would say.
Thank
I
you.
think it's important to make a goal. I think it's important to make a goal of being a good team, to infuse respect, particularly in front of the kids. You're legitimate, you're real, and you have a threshold. We're going to have this kind of disagreement, not in their presence. We're going to need to do this and learn from our mistakes. You infuse respect. If you listen and make that your practice, that's a way that we both can help each other, and give your children permission to go further than you, to be better than you.
Yes, I love that. That's the goal, right? Did you have anything, Brian?
Um, Kind of in this part, I'm kind of lacking when it comes to the mom support. But um, when I when Jen was around, hugs go a long way. I don't know. I liked getting hugs. I don't know. That always was nice, you know. But out in public, when people see me with my kids and they say things like they're surprised to see me with my kids, that always kind of bothers me. I don't know if people didn't act so surprised when they see a dad with their kids or something, and I think that would kind of maybe help ease the stigma or whatever it is about dads. I don't know, but I think that would help.
I know
Thanks for
doing
sharing
something
that. That's something to
that
know.
we're supposed to do anyway. It doesn't make sense. I agree with you, Brian.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you guys for this very meaningful discussion. I appreciate that. We are going to go into a commercial real quick. We have some information about an upcoming event in Oxnard. Juneteenth Day is coming up on June 19th, and we have a celebration in Oxnard coming up this Saturday. So check this out.
Join us for the Juneteenth celebration of Ventura County, JCVC, the city of Oxnard, and Port Hueneme for the 33rd Juneteenth anniversary celebration, Saturday, June 15th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Come and experience some historical presentations by the Buffalo Soldiers and Women of the West, celebrating National Juneteenth Independence Day. This event is free and open to the public and is a family fun-filled tradition of celebrating the end of slavery with food, vendors, music, history, beautiful artwork, and lively entertainment. Hosted by Denise Carter and yours truly, Mr. Quick. We wish to give a very special thank you to the City of Oxnard and to the Port of Hueneme for their generous sponsorship of our annual celebration and their support for diversity and inclusion in our community. Also, much appreciation goes to JCVC's Gold and Silver sponsors. Cause Susan Van Vliet Consultants, County of Ventura's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Team. This celebration is a tribute to our ancestors honoring Freedom Day. It's the 33rd Juneteenth anniversary celebration. Plaza Park, Oxnard, California, Saturday, June 15th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. See you there.
Thank you. So come out this Saturday for the Juneteenth celebration of Ventura County if you are in the area. All right, it's time for the raffle. You guys know I have been posting and sharing in my story. I did a raffle that was very successful last month for a single mom for Mother's Day, and now we are going to do one for a single dad because, you know, we appreciate the fathers at Inez knows. But the criteria for this, we took nominations for single fathers with children 12 and under or special needs children, and they have to be in the local area. So I want to share what is a part of this gift basket, what's been donated. Thank you so very much to our local businesses. And then we'll go ahead and draw the name as I had promised. I didn't have that many names, but there are several to choose from. So first of all, we have custom gear and gifts from DK Scripted. DK Scripted you can find on Facebook at Scripted by DK Custom Gifts and Greetings or on IG at DK Scripted. Then we have a pair of tickets to Oxnard Jazz Festival. It is for the Sunday show where I'm going to say after 7. Can't wait to see him. After 7 is going to be there that day. Sheila E. There are others, and I don't have the flyer in front of me, but you're going to win a pair of tickets to Sunday's show. You can find Oxnard Jazz Festival at www.oxnardjazzfestival.com or Oxnard Jazz Festival on Instagram and Facebook. Then we have a gift certificate from a local barbershop. That's Royal Fades Barbershop. That's on Patterson and Oxnard. There is a gift card, a gift certificate that you'll be able to use at the barbershop. The next thing we have is some beard oil. It is from Miss Nay's Hair Care and Styling. You guys saw that I shared what that looks like in my post last night and in my story. So this is donated by Shanae, aka Miss Nay. She does hair care and styling, specializing in natural hair care and products. You can text her at 805-628-2745 or on IG at Miss_Naystyles. That's at MS_NAESTYLES. Then we have a gift certificate from one of my favorite local businesses. That is going to be Donlin Plumbing. You can find Donlin Plumbing on Facebook at Donlin Plumbing Inc. or on IG at Donlin Plumbing. And then we have one of my favorites, 30-minute massage by Patrice. So massage by Patrice, you'll call her or text her. This is anybody who else is interested in maybe getting massage. She's my massage person. 805-509-1768. That's Massage by Patrice. And then we have a $75 gift certificate by one of my favorite local restaurants in Camarillo. That's Basil and Mint Cafe. You can find them on IG at Basil and Mint. So thank you to everybody who has donated, local businesses and sponsors supporting this single father in this basket. I will draw the name. We'll get the gift to you by Father's Day, hopefully Saturday. So I'm not going to look. Okay, I'm drawing from the bowl. And let's see who this is. And the winner is Nicholas Rodriguez. So we will give it. Woohoo! Awesome. And then I just want to share one more resource that I looked into a little bit. And that is if you were looking for more information about fathers on fatherhood, that can be a blessing to you and resourceful, check out Colors of Fatherhood podcast. You can find it anywhere you listen to podcasts. I listen to it on Apple. But that's my friend Lem Gonzalez, aka the Saint. He does spoken word. He's brought on amazing guests to talk about fatherhood in much more depth than we did today, but I think it's a great resource. All right, so I want to thank everyone for joining us. You, Frank, I'm going to say, how can anybody? I want to share that. Sorry, that you have a book. Can you share a little bit about your book and let people know how they can get in touch with you, please?
My book is called Letters to a Mixed Race Son. And just for the sake of time, my wife and I, we have a mixed marriage. She's African American. We got married in Alabama in 1984, 40 years ago. And it was right after a man had been lynched. At that time, we were the next scandal coming up. And so when our first child was born, after we got married, I took her across state line, and he was born in Florida, so nobody would kill him. And I began to think, if somebody did succeed in killing me, who's going to say the things to this child and any other children we have, the things a father should say? So what I began to do from the time he was a little boy was I began to write him letters. And I wrote him letters like he was a grown man, so that when he was grown, he could have this book. And of course, I talked to him about identity, but more than that, I talked to him about things in life. You know, how do you deal with criticism and disappointment? And what's a man supposed to do? At the beginning of the book, he's a little boy. At the end of the book, he's a grown man. He's an Annapolis graduate. He was an officer in the Marines. He was married, and he had become a first-time father. And when he came back from overseas, I gave him his handwritten book. And these letters we got published, and we hope they'll be a blessing to people. We find that people hear these words that I wrote to my son in a place where maybe someone should have said these kind words to them.
Thank
You can
you,
find me on
Frank. It's an
Amazon.
amazing book.
You can find me on Facebook. I'm also Pastor Robinson at AOL.com. Sorry about that.
No worries. Or Frank E. Robinson on YouTube as well. Okay, thank you. And then Kerry,
Yeah, well,
can you
so
let us know how they can find you? Anybody want to get in contact with you? Sorry.
well, sure. So, if you want to learn more about our organization, Keeping It 100 LA, and participate in some of the events and some of the resources from blogs and other things, we do great stuff to. If you're desiring a relationship or want to stabilize your relationship, it's k100la.org. That's k100la.org. And then also there's the podcast as well that we'll be doing as well, and that's urbanbirdsandbees.com. You get more information on that as well. So we talk about navigating the landscape of relationships and things of that nature. So
Check it out. Thank you, Kerry. And Bryan, you have a little bit you want to share about an organization that you support?
Yeah, I'm pretty much private on my socials, so I'd like to pump Casa de Vida. It helps with alcohol and drug recovery for men. I think that's important. Their on Insta is Casa de Vida 93033. And I just want to remind fathers out there to get down to your kids' level and be silly. I think that helps too. Be willing to be silly. And that's all I got.
I love that. Thank you so much. So, once again, thank you everyone for joining us today. Thanks for sharing your nuggets, your challenges, your wins. I really believe that somebody needs to hear what you've shared. I also know that when we value and appreciate people, and I'm going to say in this case, fathers, you show up better, right? You feel more valued and appreciated. You're just going to be more willingly and will be able to happily do what you need to do for your children. So thank you again. And shout outs to my papas. So Al Spates, who raised me, and JC Hawkins, and my dad, Clovis Holt, who is still alive, thank God. I also want to give a shout out to Tallboy Productions. This is a Tallboy production. He makes all this magic happen. I can't thank him enough. I also want to remind you to please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. We'll continue to do an episode a month for right now. And hopefully I can share good, meaningful information and have information that is beneficial to others and that can help others. So please share this video with others. Check out episode 1 It can also be a blessing to others. And then just want to say happy Father's Day. Have a wonderful Father's Day. Make sure to tell show your father some appreciation, acknowledge them, honor them, do it bigger than you would normally do it. And I always say, let them spend the day doing what they would like, however way that looks. And if you are in an estranged relationship or you've lost your father, take care of yourself, and honor that, and go ahead and deal with that day and get through it however way you need to. Um, thank you. And as I'd always say, and I still mean it, be kind to others, be kind to yourself, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. Have a good weekend.
What happens in waves? We move with the flow. Twist and turn we go. Find strength inside the low. We turn the table.